Hey everyone, welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. Settle in, because what's been unfolding around Hazal Sabesai and Erkan Merrick is the kind of whisper that starts in a dressing room and ends up lighting the entire industry on fire. As always, everything you need to know is right here. Don't forget to support the channel and share your thoughts when we're done. Here's what people are saying. Hazal Sabesai, who has been trying to keep her private life in its own safe corner, supposedly reached out directly to Yagmur Öztürk with a message that couldn't have been more blunt. Those who claim to have overheard the exchange say it wasn't about drama for drama's sake, but about protecting boundaries, her relationship with Erkan Merrick and her right to not be dragged into a love triangle she wants no part of. The story goes that Hazal, exhausted by the constant hum of rumor mills, decided the only way to lower the volume was to speak to the source. Not through managers. Not through cryptic social posts. A clear, human conversation. Stay out of our story, stop feeding narratives that don't belong to you, and let us breathe. If that sounds like a declaration, it also sounded like a storm warning. No official comments have surfaced from any side, which has only made the speculation spread faster. People close to Hazal insist that everything between her and Erkan is anchored in something steady, something she refuses to let be twisted by the fixation on past links or playful headlines. She's been repeating, in private circles, that her name shouldn't be attached to recycled engagement chatter or to spectacles that distract from what matters: her work, their relationship, and a future she's not willing to compromise just to keep the peace with gossip. The tension didn't come out of nowhere. Hazal and Erkan have been on the same set recently, and if you've ever watched two professionals who care deeply about their craft, you know how that can spark misunderstandings, especially when every look and every offhand comment is captured, recut, and turned into a narrative that never existed. Sources say Hazal noticed how that atmosphere was starting to bend the energy between them, how innocent moments were being misread, and how the shadows of old rumors were being thrown over new days. Rather than wait for someone else to define what this all means, she reached out to Yagmur to ask for quiet, clarity, and distance. The words allegedly shared in that conversation weren't meant to wound, but to draw a firm line. According to insiders, it went something like this. If you're still circling this story, if your name keeps threading into ours, then step back or stop bringing me into a narrative I didn't author. A boundary, not a threat. A full stop, not an exclamation. And from what we hear, Hazal didn't crack afterward. She doubled down on the approach that's gotten her through every media squall: keep working, keep breathing, and let time sort what noise can't. What about Yagmur Öztürk? Silence. Absolute, considered silence. Those who know her say she's been processing, not plotting, speaking with close friends at long dinners, weighing how to move without inflaming the situation, asking whether any public response would add oxygen to a fire that might be better starved. There's also talk that she's exhausted by being attached to a storyline that should have ended long ago, and that what stings most is seeing her own image filtered through speculation rather than through her own choices. Meanwhile, Erkan Merrick is right at the heart of it. Those inside his circle describe him as a man who wants his work to be the headline. He hates the circus, hates being forced to choose between the person he loves and the piece he needs to do his job. One day he's on set nailing a difficult scene, the next he's watching rumors about his home life trend above his new project. Friends say he's been careful with every move since the whispers escalated. Shielding Hazal where he can, asking colleagues not to stoke the chatter, trying to build a wall around their private life that can withstand a very public storm. Is the tension visible at work? People talk. They say you can feel it in the way conversations shorten when someone new joins, in how Hazal finishes a scene and then disappears into a quiet corner with a script and a pen. It's not frostiness, say those who've been around her, it's focus. When every sentence could be twisted, you learn to leave fewer sentences out in the open. Some colleagues interpret this as a strategy: lean into the craft, starve the rumor of the casual moments it feeds on, and let performance be the answer. Fans, as always, have taken sides. Some praise Hazal for drawing a line in the sand, calling it brave, overdue, even necessary in a world that acts as if women should smile through invasions of privacy. Others wonder whether the direct approach was gasoline on simmering coals, suggesting a more discreet route might have avoided friction. Social media is overflowing with comments like, Hazal is protecting her peace and her love, why won't Yagmur set the record straight, and Erkan needs to set boundaries for everyone's sake. In other words, exactly the storm of opinion that celebrity couples endure when their quiet life becomes a public debate. In spite of everything, people are still asking the simplest question, did this warning actually happen, or is the tale itself the product of 1,000 whispers becoming one shout? That's the mystery that has the entire scene on edge. None of the three has broken their silence with a clean, definitive statement. And that vacuum is where theories multiply. Some insist they saw the mood shift on set the day after the alleged talk. Others claim it's all projection, that the trio has been calm and composed in private while the outside world spirals. What can't be denied is the ripple effect. Everyone working anywhere near them seems to be moving carefully. One actor says Hazal has been especially self-contained lately, choosing to let the work do the talking. Another says Erkan has become even more precise on set, channeling the noise into performance. Crew members whisper that the energy feels thick, like a room before a summer storm breaks. There's also the elephant in the room, future plans. Friends of the couple quietly admit they've urged Hazal and Erkan to protect their timeline. You can almost hear the advice in the subtext, keep what's yours insulated, rethink big dates if you must, and don't let a rumor knock the rhythm out of your life. That's why talk has spread that some important milestones might have been pushed back slightly. Not cancelled, not abandoned, just gently paused so that the noise can die down and their choices can be made in calm rather than chaos. Nothing official has been announced, but the idea that the two would rather regroup than rush is entirely in character with the way they've handled this entire situation. As for Yagmur, the consensus is that this hasn't been easy. Imagine waking up and finding your name trending for a chapter you didn't write. She's said to be taking long walks, limiting her phone time, and leaning on people who remind her that dignity sometimes looks like restraint. The question is how long that strategy can hold. Not because it's wrong, but because a void in celebrity conversation is never a void for long. Someone fills it, and if it isn't you, it will be someone else. What makes this story so combustible is the way it collides with larger truths about fame. In this business, every exchange can be an event, every sidelong glance a headline, and every attempt at privacy a provocation. Commentators on television are already spinning it out into think pieces. This isn't merely about three names, they say, it's about how the industry thrives on misread gestures, about how an actress's request for boundaries gets mislabeled as drama, about how a couple like Hazal Sabesai and Erkan Merrick must work twice as hard to keep their center still while the world pushes and prods. Through it all, Hazal's stance has remained consistent. She's rejected the idea that her name belongs in a triangle, insisted that her conscience is clean, and reminded friends that she's an actress first, the rest of it is noise. That doesn't mean she won't defend herself. It means she'll choose when and how. If the time comes to speak to the public, those close to her say it will be measured, empathetic, and final. And Erkan? The word from his side is that he's adamant about refusing to let this overshadow years of work. He's been gentle but firm with people who try to bait him into off-the-record comments. He's asked that those who care about him remember that peace isn't won by getting the last word, it's won by not needing it. Privately, he and Hazal have reportedly had the kind of conversations couples avoid until they can't. What do we do next? How do we keep this ours? What are we willing to delay now so that we can have the life we want later? All of that explains why their inner circle has felt uneasy. Friends who love them say things like, these rumors are eating into the joy of planning, and don't let this circus dictate your milestones. And that's where whispers about a slight postponement of key plans began. Again, nothing carved in stone. But in this world, even sensible caution becomes news. As the days pass, the question grows louder, will Yagmur Öztürk finally speak? Some say she's drafting a single, clear message that will be both respectful and decisive. Something that ends the loop of insinuations and gives everyone a way out of the maze. If that happens, it could shift everything. It could soften the background hum around Hazal, clarify the air around Erkan, and let the conversation move on from old entanglements to new realities. Until then, the conversation keeps circling. Fans argue, columnists pontificate, timelines refresh. And somewhere under all that, 3 people are trying to find a quiet corner of their lives where they can choose what happens next without a spotlight glaring down. What began, allegedly, as a straightforward plea for boundaries has grown into a test of balance, between love and work, between privacy and public appetite, between rumor and reality. We will say this much: if you know anything about Hazal Sabesai and Erkan Merrick, you know they've survived media weather before. They are careful, they are proud of their craft, and they are learning, once again, how to walk through thunder without looking up at the clouds. Whether this turns into a clash that leaves lasting marks or fades into a footnote will depend on how the next few days unfold, and on whether silence remains a strategy or becomes a statement. You've been watching Secrets Behind the Stars. If you've stayed with us this far, you know the heart of the story. A couple drawing lines, a third name caught in the echo, and an industry that loves the echo more than the truth. We'll be here when someone finally breaks the silence. Until then, take care, share what you think, and we'll meet again in the next video.